1 minute.
No.
Okay, we're ready to begin our board meeting this evening, and for roll call, let the record show that all board members except for Ms. Donnell is here at this moment. Our attorney and superintendent is present, and would you stand with prayer and pledge, Mr. Butler?
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this wonderful day. Lord, we thank you for this wonderful opportunity that we have to live this wonderful nation. Lord, I ask you to be with all of us here tonight. We have the best interest in this district in mind and all the decisions we make. Lord, thank you for all the men and women that serve every day to keep us free and keep us safe. And we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're down to the adoption of the agenda, and we do have on 7.02 an added item, approval plan for our 2021 school year optional innovative reopening plan for Heather County School District. And this will be to be added on our agenda. And then one change on item 1100 school calendar, that I know that it had said that the first day for students would be the 13th, but the date has been changed to August the 24th. So those are 2 days that we have different on our agenda. Is there anything else that we need to take care of before we adopt the agenda? Okay, if not, do we hear a motion? Ms. Carlton makes a motion. Ms. Agner seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So carried. We're at the point of items of interest from the public, and I understand that we do have one or two this afternoon, so they'll be coming in shortly.
We need to go get them? Oh, yeah. One time.
She's coming.
Podium on the other side. I'm going down now.
Hello, everyone. By the way, I don't know anyone here. I'm new to the area and I'm glad to be here.
Please state your name and
Yes, sir. My name is Nancy Freeze, and I just kind of moved to Perry, and I'm against the tax increase because I have no more money to give. I think that people that buy properties and they bought in under a certain amount of taxes, they give the young people a break. Look at my glasses, I need a new pair. No one's gonna give me $25 million to buy them. I have to put this out of my own money, and I might need tires for my car, down the road. Like, I am not for a tax increase at all. I have no children in school at all. I just feel like, I don't like that word. I came up in a different environment. We were taught to read, write, and do arithmetic when we grew up, so we were self-independent and could take care of ourselves. So feelings were left to our own personal, lives, thankfully. But I guess that's all I have to say is I am definitely against the tax increases because young people starting out, I come from Pennsylvania. This has gotten, and I also lived in California, where it seems like they can't get enough out of reaching into other people's pockets. It's my money, I earned it, and I worked hard. No one wanted me. I was the girl, the only girl in the carpenters union at the time. And I don't mind the fight I had to put up to get in there, or stay in there where no one wanted me. And I didn't mind. It's about the struggle. If you get it handed to you, it's not the same as if you had to struggle for it. I have no bitter feelings whatsoever. But then they come in with the boroughs where I live. Not only does the borough tax you 1% out of your wages, then you go to Philly to work and they tax you 4% city wage tax. Plus the schools, they forced us to build them. No one wanted them. They were arrested out of the meetings. And now there's no busing. And I think it's enough. That's why I came here, because I like the South. I think they put up, I am gonna say it. I think they put up a good fight. It was about taxation. They did not want to pay for the Northern Military Industrial Complex. That's what started the war. And I can understand why.
Okay, so.
And that's fine,
Okay,
because I'm against the tax rates, and those are some of the reasons.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Put
very
that
much.
together.
Okay,
You're welcome.
all right,
You're welcome.
okay. And I can't see, I need glasses. Thank you. Okay, hold up a minute. Where do I go? Are you gonna help me out?
Is this it? Do we have any more?
There was another one, wasn't there, Danny? Was there another one?
I was just told
She was the only one out.
Okay.
Only one. Okay, so I don't think we had any questions sent in or anything.
We did, Miss Ratliff had emailed 2 questions. Miss McCoy was able to get the answers to that. It was about virtual. But then she had a question about ESE students taking virtual learning. How are the kids going to have the same work as the class? Is work going to be tailored to that child? These kids have IEP, and are the kids able to get their therapy needs in a virtual setting? So I will have Ms. Lytle email her tomorrow. I'll give this question to her. Then.
Those are good questions right there. And I'm sure they're in the minds of a lot of folks out there.
And then I had another one from Ms. Mash, Ms. Deborah Mash. She's on the Taylor County District employee and taxpayer with grandchildren that attend our school district. I'm concerned about our budget for technology and lack thereof going forward. We're handing out devices to students to take home, and we are at their mercy hoping they return them. Our DCP funds from the state has been cut the last 2 years. We were receiving $500,000 to support classroom devices for all of our students. That has now been reduced to $100,000, which will not be covered in one grade level. My question is, what suggestions do you offer that we will ensure that devices are returned on time and in good working condition? Would you support a deposit before checking out a laptop? We have called, sent dojo messages, and posted on our school's Facebook pages with no response from any. We have even had teachers and administrators write home visits. We are looking into insurance for damages. This is another cost to our district conveyor. We have had parents sign contracts concerning damaged devices, but have no way to enforce collection. We could deny a device as a student, but future over so much of our curriculum testing and progress monitoring online. Is that even feasible? I have 4 grandchildren in the district that will be greatly affected by others not being responsible with our devices. We have done everything we know to recover what was sent home in April. We are still missing about 30% of them. My concern is not for this year, but next year when we know our budget will be down. We need our legislators to know that rural districts like ours are having a much larger need for digital classroom funding. And we spoke about this today. She called me earlier today, made me aware of it, and I asked her to send me the data by each school. So as of right now, TCHS, 28% of their devices have not been turned back in. TCMS, 50% of those devices have not been turned in. Elementary school, 30%, and Steenhatchee's 15%. So for approximately 100 laptops not returned from the spring checkout.
Do we have a plan, some, any way of recouping those devices?
Today, I was the first, I was, really made aware of that, so we'll talk about that in our staff meetings. I mean, one suggestion I had to her is we could possibly say students do not get another laptop until that one is brought back or returned. So that is something to look at.
Danny, I got a question. Why is this just not been brought to our attention? I mean, we knew going into the fall that distance learning probably was gonna be an option. So, I mean, if they kept this inventory, why have not this came up before now?
It's not really, like she said, it's not really gonna be an issue for this year, because what we did was, a lot of those computers that went out were gonna be probably on the recycle return anyway. So, yes, we want them back, but it's not, I mean, we need them back, but if we don't get them back, it's not as huge as it's gonna be next year, because now we will give out new devices that we will need to last for 2 or 3 years. So that was her main point, is if we give them out and they don't get returned, the following year is gonna be a huge deficit on this. So we just need to get a plan together now to figure out how to get those back.
Well, I understand that, but I'm still saying, like, the goal is to get the computers back. So, I mean, we kind of have to have a plan now before we can worry about next year. So that's why I'm asking, like, did we not have a plan before we get computers back as to how we're gonna try to ensure to get them back? Because technology has been an issue for a couple of years now. It's like she said, it's been an ongoing issue. And it's like each year we get less funding for it. And we knew back in the spring that there was concern that we would not have enough computers moving forward, but then CARES money came down as well as grant funding came down. And so we kind of made it through this past, school term, but now we're moving into another school term. So I definitely think it's a great concern, but given the technology needs and the economic needs in our community, I would think that if the families could afford to put a deposit down, they would be able to afford a computer. So, it's not that I don't want to hold these families liable, but at the same time, the current circumstances that we're in, it's kind of like this is the option that we're having to offer. So I definitely think we as a district need to come up with a solution. But I think we got to kind of, have some type of idea in mind before we kind of give out our computers. Not that we don't want to give them out, but we kind of have to have some type of plan in place as far as our technology and making sure that as the district has a need, that we have some type of plan to address that need.
Mr. Hernandez is looking into some insurance for us. He's been very knowledgeable and talked to us multiple times about some insurance. So we actually got an email the other day that he's looking into for us about some insurance. But I'll have to meet with the IT team and see what ideas they have.
Students do sign they sign a contract,
Right.
but, everything is online, and if they don't bring it back, you can say you owe this amount, but we can't make them pay it.
Right, I understand that, but I
So
do
what
know
would
there were some parents that actually went out and bought computers before we gave computers out back in the spring. Like, I had several parents stop me and they went out and they bought computers. So the fact that we do know that we're having to have more than one option, I mean, we gotta be able to provide something to our family. So I'm not saying we shouldn't have no type of plan, but I just want to know what type of plan that we already have in place.
I have a question on the 100 that we passed out that are going to be recycled this year, we're going to be passing out more naturally. Isn't that considered part of classroom supplies? Is that not going to save us in a lot? I mean, will that laptop not pay for itself as far as what we won't have to put into the classroom? No? Okay. So we've got how many, we've got 100 outstanding now. How many are we passing out this next year?
We don't know exactly yet.
Okay.
Well, maybe could y'all, like you said, if you get the team and kind of get together a plan and then give us a report back a little bit later.
The schools, once we closed the survey down, the schools started calling parents. So I've not got an update from the schools as to the numbers.
Do we already have something in our strategic plan that address technology needs? Like how we as a district plan to address technology needs?
Well, in the past, I'm not sure there's a strategic plan, but with the funding we were receiving, technology, they have a cycle they follow. I mean, they have it mapped out. And we were really good at mapping everything out until we went from 250 to 100,000. Kudos to them. They're still able to keep technology up to par and get a lot of new devices. But like she said, we're gonna fall behind if we don't get a lot of these devices back. That's gonna be the issue.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the concern, and I do feel like it's something we need to pay a little more attention to, but, I mean, we've all kind of went to Tallahassee and, you know, advocated for funding, so it's not like we as a board are not concerned about our technology needs, because I think we all have addressed those. But moving forward, this is not an area that we can fall short on, because, I mean, e-learning is here and look like it's gonna be here for a while.
So can I ask a question? How does our, now, when they check out a laptop, like when they check the ones out for the spring, do we have a return date that they have missed now in that contract that you talked about? And so the repercussions for missing that return date are
Charged for the device.
charged for the device?
Charged for the device, you won't receive the device, this year. You have a device at home, you get it from it.
Okay, so those students, the ones who missed it, I just think about the overdue library fines that we used to have to pay, and you couldn't get your report cards until you had all your fees paid, or, you know.
Well, maybe what needs to happen is that this has been some good questions and good discussion as far as, but there needs to be a solid plan.
It sounds like we
I think
have
they
a
have
good
the plan.
plan,
I
we're
think
just
it's
not
just a
getting,
matter
they're
of
just
being able to
not
collect
getting them back. So,
And that you've got 100 outstanding, so that's 100 you're gonna keep in-house until those are returned. So there is so I think what Debbie's saying is next year, we don't want that 100 to turn into 300 or 400.
Or the 100 to be our brand new computers that were depending to work for 3 years.
Right. Well, if those 100 don't come back, those 100 don't get new ones, so that's the plan.
Okay. All right. We move on, to item 6.0, was a consent item and was approved by the adoption of the agenda. This brings us to 7.01.
What, 4.10,
I'm sorry.
4.10,
Oh, yes, I had marked that. I'm sorry. 4.10, miscellaneous financial items, and this is an action item. Teacher supply assistant dollars, we need to approve this, for disbursement. Motion? Ms. Agnew makes that motion. Ms. Carl, Ms. Mathis seconds it. And all in favor for that, say aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. Then this brings us now up to 7.02, item 1, which is an action item, and we need to have a report on this. Our 2021 Florida Optional Innovative Reopening Plan for Taylor County.
Is this what's going to be submitted then to July 31st?
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, how's everybody doing? All right. So, as you all know, we had a plan to the Department of Education on our reopening options, and it's called an innovative plan because we are so innovative that we're giving everybody choices. We feel like it's, you know, whether or not a student wants to come out to school or not is a very personal choice based on that student's family, and we believe in letting them make that choice. However, the governor taxed us with opening our doors 5 days a week to provide face-to-face instruction regardless of, whether or not everybody comes back, to put it, you know, in plain terms. So we have come up with an innovative learning plan that gives our students basically 3 choices. So choice 1 will be that they will return to school brick and mortar like they have in the past. Doesn't really change, same thing we're used to. Choice 2 would be that they would choose our tailored e-learning Canvas option, and we're calling that tech. And that would be where they receive asynchronous instruction, so they are still provided with the same classes, the same teachers at our schools, however, they would be completing their work at home. Okay? And then the last option that they would have is our Florida virtual school. Taylor gets, we call it Taylor County Virtual School, and that would allow them to complete courses. They just have a little more flexibility there. They can, do things they have a deadline, but it's just a little more flexible as far as when they submit things. And they don't have the same, they don't have to do some of the same things that they would if they were just in the tech option. You know, they don't have to collaborate with their peers as much. They may not get, some of those things that they will see, that their classmates will get. But it's actually very, very similar, to be honest with you, it's very similar. And the point is, just to provide our parents choices, just to provide our families, the opportunity to keep their families safe and for them to do whatever is best for them. We are really hoping, and as most of you all know, I've seen some posts on social media that we've really, asked parents that are not wanting to have their students come back brick and mortar. We've really, really begged and pleaded that they take this tech option because funding is an issue, and we know that. And so if they take the funding issue, if they take the tech option, our funding is not subject to change as far as we know. That is still, there won't be a decrease there. However, if they choose the FLBS option, which they can, our Taylor FLBS, that will still be taught by our teachers. But the difference is that is a different school site, it's a different code, and so we do receive a little less funding for that because obviously the Department of Education is not going to pay us the full FTE amount when you're not having to bus those students, when you're not having, it's not as much hands-on stuff. So again, we are really hoping that our students who do not choose to come back brick and mortar will at least choose our tech option. And we're very excited about those options because we purchased the new learning management system, Canvas. And we all know that it's been fun getting off the ground, but we're getting out there. It's happening. And we're also got the opportunity, as you all know, to purchase FLPS global curriculum so that our teachers are teaching in the classroom, can infuse that curriculum in their classrooms. And that way, if someone were to fall ill for a short time, perhaps a 2-week quarantine period or something, they would never lose the beat. It would be the same. And that's the point that I think that the governor wanted to make, and that's what we certainly want to do as well, provide that seamless instruction so that if they choose to come back brick and mortar at the 9-week or the semester, depending on what grade level they're at, that they have not missed anything, that they really are doing the same thing that their peers are doing in class. So, is there any question about that?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Now, you said that if they choose the Taylor County virtual school option, they will be dealing with our teachers. I thought last week it was that they would be dealing with virtual.
Well, a student in Florida always has the option not to choose us, but you all have just approved, I think I was gonna approve, our Florida virtual franchise, so we're gonna have our own franchise. So for years, we've been losing money to the different contracts that we've had with, whether it be with FLBS, regular flex, or our PACE Learning Consortium. We have given up a lot of that FTE. So by us having our own consortium, we are paying our teachers, but we're keeping the majority of those funds so that we don't, because we're worried about things like teachers, of course, with people don't come back, we're worried about being able to support those teachers.
Has numbers changed? What are you showing now for the number of students that are going?
So the last time we pulled it was about we mirrored Tallahassee. We were about 67-33. And once that survey was given to the school sites started calling, so they would have to tell you if those numbers went up, but I don't probably see them going up. I don't see much of a change, but I could be wrong because, at that time they started making the phone calls themselves for anyone who did not make the choice. And so they've kind of kept that one on spreadsheets, and they'll come back and turn that into me, so that we can make sure that we have enough devices and hotspots and things like that, because those have to be assigned as well for those students taking that option. Yes, ma'am.
So if we have a student, either in option 2 or option 3, where they do TEC, and let's take them separately, will they, at the end of the year, when they do the standardized testing, how will that be done?
Okay, so we've not received anything from the state based on that. So I'm not sure that I can't predict that. I can just tell you this, based on past experience, I know that our AP exams at the high school, that the students were allowed to take them at home, and that's something that I would have never thought would have occurred, but it did. And so, that will be something that we have to get more guidance from the Department of Education on. That's not something that I can tell you myself. I do know that there has been a lot of discussion about our ongoing progress monitoring. And although I believe a lot of administrators and teachers feel like it would be best for them to come into the school to take those progress monitoring assessments, you also have to see the fact that they're choosing not to send their kids, so why would they send them to school for a test day? So we have to be respectful of that, in my opinion.
So then for option 3, and I'm asking you this because under the normal FLVS system, that when they do their standardized testing, it is a teacher assessment based. It's based on a teacher assessment, not on them actually taking the
It's not a standardized test. A standardized test would be like your FSK and your
Right,
ESC.
and that's what I'm referring to. So when they, at the end of the year, when they're taking their standardized test, that FLVS students can be assessed versus actually taking a test.
I'm
So,
sorry.
okay,
So every student that's ever been an FLVS student that has, let's say there were a student that was a full-time FLVS student. For many years, I've had students who were full-time FLVS students choose to come and have their testing done at the middle school or the high school, okay? So when they came, they brought a ticket from FLVS. FLVS always communicates with the testing coordinator at each side. And we just added them to our testing day.
thank you.
They were,
That's what I was
okay, I got
wondering.
you. Yes, no, they were always allowed to test with us, and we made that, we've always made that accommodation. That's the
Okay,
right thing to do. Their parents are still had taxpayers, so, we would absolutely, we welcome them.
I have a question logistically, is all the students gonna be enrolled in the virtual and have like 2 columns, one says brick and mortar check, virtual check?
So what
That
we're
way
gonna
you keep
do,
up with the whole.
that's a
enrollment.
great answer, yes, Ms. Becker, that's a great question. So what we're gonna do, on the MIS side, the data entry side, is the students who are going to take those tech options it will be the same course code, however, there will be a character at the end of it so that we, for our own records, can keep everyone, separate, straight. Yes, ma'am, that's a great question.
I'm just worried about being seamless.
Sure, so
if
we
they go
can
from-
measure, yeah, and with your progress monitoring, that would be, it'll behoove us to do that anyway, because we would like to see, when we talk about the loss that we're anticipating from students being out for so long, it would be nice to measure that, students at home versus those that are face to face. That would be a great thing for us to look at and act accordingly based on those results that we get.
Do we have an update on curriculum and?
So Canvas and curriculum, and Ms. Pearson's gonna talk to you about Canvas, and I can tell you about FLVS partial. Okay, so you wanna start with Canvas first? Mine kind of feeds into hers, if that makes sense.
Hey guys, I'm the lady that wears the canvas face hat. So this would be starting week 3 of what they told us would be a 6-week implementation phase. So we're finished basically with all of our tasks for the 6 weeks. I'm still listening, and going along with the cohort, and we're on week 3. So we're ahead, and what that means is Canvas is integrated with Focus. So our teachers' accounts have been created, and our teacher focus courses are created. But they're kind of sitting there empty until we get FLVS. And so what that means is our teachers can log in right now. And the only reason why we haven't sent that out and celebrated over that is because the 20 teachers that are about 18 are in our learning Canvas together, we all agreed. It's been a little confusing for us. You have to create a sandbox course, a demo course, manual. You create it, you do all your playing and learning and digging around in that. So when our teachers log in, they're gonna see the courses there that's created with Focus with nothing in it. And so they don't need to touch that until we get FLBS curriculum moved over to it. And so we're just kind of nervous, because we know, we have some very gung-ho teachers and they're wanting to get in there. And they're savvy, they're gonna build it and know more than I know quickly about it. And we just wanna make sure that they stay out of that. So we all kind of agreed, let's log in together and let's train together and let's start it. So teachers have accounts, but they haven't logged in yet. They are gonna be able to log in and start training. And, the Canvas teachers and I met, we had our last training with our trainer on Monday. Monday, and met Monday afterwards. This has been a long week already. So we met, Monday after our training. We kind of met with each school site out of the 20 teachers that are learning this. And they have a game plan, and we're having to talk through it, so we're figuring out, we're taking our 8 trainings and we're kind of combining them into about 3 days at each site. So our teachers will come back, I know they're coming back this week, but as far as Canvas, it'll start next week. And these teachers are prepared to start with their faculty. And it'll take about 3 days. Principals are being very flexible and understanding. So if these teachers communicate that they need more days, more time, to learn this, the principals are willing to give them that. And then we know when FLDS curriculum comes, then, we're gonna need a little more time because we're all gonna get to see what that looks like at the same time. So, I do think, I wanna say this before I go into FLDS, is I think our teachers are feeling better. Day 2, we were all pretty stressed out. I think that's probably when you guys got some phone calls. And our trainer taught us, she looked at us as the tech crew basically, and she trained us kind of from the ground zero up. And so it's all sort of coming together. And the more we talk about it, the more comfortable we are with Canvas. And I think if they were here with me, they would say the same thing. So I think everybody's feeling a little better. We're gung-ho, ready to start. We're nervous about it. It's nervous to get in front of our peers and start training on something we're not completely comfortable with. And they're willing to do that. So they're a great team. They're going to do that. And then, of course, we're asking the same thing out of our faculty. They're going to have a few days to learn this. I think they're going to feel better about it with our crew that's helping them. And, none of us are going to feel good about this until we actually jump in and start using it. And I think our confidence is going to grow. And I hope to come back to you in a few months and when everything settles and we're able to say Canvas is the best thing we've gotten. Because I can see where it's going, and I really think it's going to be good for the district. So, FLBS, what I know about FLBS is you approved it last Tuesday. So I turned around, Ms. Bashir's and I on Wednesday, we got together, we knocked out all the courses, and what we had to do was just go in to Canvas and set up a course, named it just like FLBS told us to. And we added them, access, gave them access, and they said, okay, now you're waiting on us. And they're backed up, loading curriculum. Their standard answer is 2 to 3 weeks. And I say that because Canvas told us 6 weeks. And, we do have teachers' accounts there. We're not all the way finished. I mean, we're still, going through Canvas. There's still things to be done. We're not sitting and waiting on FLBS. There's still plenty of work to be done and things on the back end with Canvas. But, so I'm very hopeful that it will not take the 2 to 3 weeks to get the curriculum. But that's all I can tell you is we're waiting on them as far as FLBS. Any other questions on anything else?
Thank you.
I did good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say FLVS, if you would, just for my sake, say global or,
Global.
because when I hear the other one, I'm thinking that's what we've always had.
And that's good to
When I hear
know.
global, I know that's the new one. Well, that keeps me from getting confused.
I'll do my best. We're learning. There's all kinds of new terms. We're Shannon County.
Yes, yeah, the tech or whatever. But when I hear the other, I'm thinking, which one?
Okay.
I just
You know
wanna-
which one I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes, but everybody out there may not.
Thank you, ladies.
So the question is this is the only thing that we have to submit now by Friday?
Any other questions before I leave about that?
This is the plan we're submitting.
Yes,
This is the only thing that we have to submit is what I'm saying. This is the only thing.
And how long will it take us to hear back from this, as far as it's approved?
He was telling me they're trying to do like a 24-hour turnaround. They're being the deadline, I'm sure they'll get.
I got a question to you. What happens if this curriculum isn't here?
That's LDS curriculum. We would just have to do an amendment, and then we would do, teams.
can I address that? Okay, so I wanna talk to you about a little bit of this, because I've heard, the anxiousness, that our teachers are feeling, and I've been there, and so I think we all can empathize with that, sympathize. But, you know, I do wanna say this, it is still summer, and while I understand all that, you know, back when a lot of veteran teachers like myself started teaching, our training really began during pre-planning. So while I understand the angst, and I understand we're in times that we've never been in, while we're giving that grace to others, that grace also has to be extended to learning these programs. And so I think that, you know, Ms. Pearson and I were talking about this earlier, and I hope that these teachers are communicating with their Canvas 20 people, because I think they are feeling so much better as they've gone through it and they've learned the steps. They are feeling more confident in themselves. But I also think that, you know, as a teacher, we are providing them with something that is ready-made. And never in all my years of teaching did anyone ever give me something that I really, you know, and I taught scripted programs, but I still always added my stuff in. But nobody ever gave me a thing and said, well, this is all you're going to have to do. You know what I mean? So a lot of people have been concerned that this will dictate or this will tell, and they want their own things. And I think that's fantastic, and I think that's what we trust our teachers to do. We're not saying that. I'm saying, Ms. Carlton, I'm building your master closet, building your master closet, your master closet, your master closet. I'll give you one too, okay? All right, now, so we've got our master closet. So think of that as canvas. That's the shell, okay? That's where all of our tools and things are going to be. Our wardrobe is going to be. Now, as a district, we're giving y'all a basic wardrobe: black suits, trousers, skirts, dresses, ties, dress pants, jackets, okay? But Miss Carlton might want a pair of pearls. Miss Donnell might want a pair of heels. He might want a tie pin, and that's great. We're giving you the basics. What you add to that, that's what the teacher does, no matter what program they use. So we have to trust our teachers are going to take this and they're going to own this, and they're going to adapt it to fit their children's needs, because that's what good teachers do. And I think at the very end, if, let's just say for some reason, that first week we start that FLVS isn't there, you know what, there have been years when textbooks hadn't come in. There have been years when the internet was out, we were trying to start this first out with this great PowerPoint presentation. We're going to have a backup plan, because that's what good teachers do. Any other questions before I go?
Thank you for that.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you all. Thank you. So this is, needs to be approved. We have a motion.
Second,
Okay, Ms. Donnell made the motion, and Ms. Mathis seconded. All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. Item 8.0, approval of agreements and contracts, was approved by the adoption of the agenda. This brings us down to item 10.01, which is, action item, the Taylor County School Board Student Drug Testing Consent Form.
I had a question on that, do we need a motion at first?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get the motion.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion, but I have a question.
And I'll second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Acker, seconded by Ms. Carlson. Okay, go ahead.
I just noticed in the policy, it was saying that, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, that if the, responsibility of the cost would go to the student in the policy, but in the consent form, it says the cost will be for the district. So I just need to make sure that's clarified in the policy. Maybe I'm reading the policy wrong. It's, for the homeschool students, the private school students, and if they do the extracurricular, they have to pay for it. But for in-school students, we pay for it.
The current policy does not provide for homeschool students or private school students to even submit to testing. There's nothing in there that excludes them, but there's nothing in there that includes them. From what I've, in our year that we've had looking at this policy. And so we felt like we need to, if they're gonna participate in our activities, they need to also participate in that drug testing program, because.
But we're asking the students in our public schools that will pay for theirs, but the homeschool and the private school, what about this distant learning?
They're still our students.
Yes.
Our distance learning students are still ours.
So, so basically what we're saying here is if you're enrolled in our district,
Yes,
we pay for it. If you're not enrolled in our district, you pay for it. That's probably needs to be worded that way so that it's a little clearer.
And I have a question. I thought when it came down to this policy, that if a student participated in an extracurricular activity, whether they was our student or not, that it makes parental testing. But Ms. McCoy, you just stated that that was not the case.
it did not exclude them, but it didn't explicitly include them. It was very, in my mind, it was gray, and we didn't have a mechanism set up with the private school or the homeschool student if they were randomly selected, because I don't get the list until the morning of. They provided me with a list, we divided up, and I have a team, we kind of got it down to a science now on how we go and collect the students and bring them to the room or whatever, but there's no method, there's no guidance on how to contact or, how to get that word out to students at a different school or their homeschool. And so
Well, I thought when the parents took care of consent forms to play sports, that they had to sign that form in.
they do sign it, yes ma'am. But in our policy as it's written now, did not address, contacting, notifying, are we gonna have a second day? Are we going to have it tested on our site? So, it's just something that it was in my mind, it was kind of a loophole that they were able to go through. And I didn't just feel strongly, or me or team felt strongly that we needed to include them if we're going to participate.
So now we're taking care of that, where that won't be, because I know I had a parent contact me, that they don't want to have to sign that form this past year. And I said, well, that's kind of our policy when it comes to students. It's not guaranteed your child will be selected, but it does state that if they're randomly selected, because they're participating in sports. But now to find out that we're ironclad across the board with our kids, that do cause concern. But if we're addressing that, I just want to make sure that really is being addressed.
And it's not just sports for us, it's clubs and activities and
Right.
all that, so.
Well, I see also that driving on here, and I guess I've never paid attention to that if a student drove. I know that it's always kind of been the case that law enforcement has been in the parking lot, but I noticed that time if you're driving a car, that does stand out. So, I was gonna ask a question about that, but it does concern me that there was a kind of gray area with that, because I think of our students and our students are on campus. So we tend to sometimes do kind of engage a, relationship there, but that doesn't mean we know what they're doing. But if we only come in contact with a student when it's a game time, that does offer a different caveat, and I think they need to be consistent across the board.
This form actually doesn't address it either.
Okay.
As far as, if they sign this, they think you're gonna pay for it. If they're a homeschool and are not part of the district. So,
What's roughly the cost of that, Heather?
I think it's $25. It goes up if they have a shy bladder. I
Okay.
think it